channel. For today's video, I wanted to tell you about my recent trip to Puerto Rico and show you some souvenirs that I picked up there. So first, I will show you what I bought. It's not that much. I got these stickers. I thought these were cute. It says "Turtly Awesome" with a turtle with a snorkel mask on, and it says Via Case Soul. Via Case is the name of an island that we went to during our trip. And I have a couple of postcards from there too. This is a beautiful picture of the beach. Via Case has a lot of amazing beaches. And this is a picture of Green Beach, also known as Punta Arenas, the westernmost spot on Via Case. We didn't go to Green Beach, but we went to another beach that looked just like this, with big beautiful palm trees and white sand and turquoise blue water, and it was so beautiful. I don't know if you can see like these darker areas in the water, but at the beaches that we went to, the darker areas like that was seagrass. It was like different, they had different types of seagrass, and there was little fish and stuff swimming in there, at least at one of the beaches that we went to. And then I have this picture, beautiful picture. I love all the beautiful palm trees. And this is a picture of Esperanza Boardwalk and Beach in Via Case. So this is an old picture. This is from 2006. Esperanza is the name of a town on Via Case, and it's a very touristy town. And it has a beautiful boardwalk with beautiful, if you were standing here looking out, you would see beautiful green islands out on the water. But the boardwalk doesn't look like this today. When we went, it was built a little bit differently and was painted bright blue. And yeah, I just love this picture. I'm wondering if these boats are photoshopped in or not, because they just look a little bit off to me, but I still really like it. And then I got this book. We went to a bookstore on the main island of Puerto Rico, and all of the books were in Spanish, which was really cool. That was one of the things I really liked about our trip, was all the Spanish everywhere. And I bought this graphic novel called Chicas Malas. It's 15 stories of brave and creative women, and I'm really, I haven't read it yet. I'm excited to check it out. The art is really cool, and I haven't actually heard of a lot of the women that are in this book, and this will be a good opportunity for me to practice my Spanish. I took Spanish classes in middle school and 2 years in high school, and I minored in Spanish in college, and I did a study abroad in Spain. But if you don't use rusty, and I haven't used it in a long time. Every once in a while, I'll listen to something in Spanish or try to watch a show in Spanish. In preparation for our trip, I wanted to review a little bit of Spanish, and I got the language learning app Babbel, and I was using that every day for probably 3 months, and that definitely helped. And I was listening to podcasts, and it's kind of like riding a bike, like it comes back to you. That was really fun. I didn't end up needing to use my Spanish at all on the trip because everything was in English and Spanish, and everybody spoke English with us, and their accent. I'm most familiar with Spanish from Spain. I don't think I had ever heard a Puerto Rican accent before, and my impression of it was that they were talking very quickly, and I had a really hard time understanding. And then I also, different places use different words for things, and I think my vocabulary, I just didn't have the vocabulary of, especially like around food. There was a lot of words related to food that I had no idea what that meant, so anyway, I read a little bit of this while I was there, and it's a cool book, and I'm looking forward to reading it more and practicing my Spanish more. And that was one of my favorite things about this trip, was being in a place where not everything is in English. And then the last thing, see, these are the women that are in this book. So I'm excited to check that out. And then also this is my favorite souvenir that I got, because I don't know that I would have ever found this awesome book otherwise. And then the last thing that I got is this beach wrap. It's just a cloth. I bought this in a souvenir shop that had a lot of goodies in it, and I thought it was really pretty. And I really, for a long time, have been needing a little beach wrap. And while I was on this trip especially, I was missing not having one. I got this on our last day, so I didn't get a chance to use it, but I'm gonna hold on to it, and obviously I can use it anytime I go to the beach. But it's just cotton, but it's so pretty, and these are really versatile. It'd be great to use. You can use it as like a blanket, a scarf, a wrap, a skirt, whatever. So yeah, so those are my souvenirs. Let me tell you more about our trip. I'm just gonna be doodling a little bit while I talk to you, but it's not anything important that you need to pay attention to. This is to help you guys relax, and if you don't want to pay attention with your eyes, you don't have to. I'm just drawing in my sketchbook while I talk. So, we went to Puerto Rico in early January, and my fiance had been really wanting to go for years, and he planned this whole trip for us, and I just got to show up and be along for the ride, and that was really nice. And the first night, so when we reception. I have Verizon, and it doesn't work in Puerto Rico unless you pay an extra fee for wandering or travel, whatever they called it. I never paid the fee, so unless I was on Wi-Fi, my phone didn't work. So I don't actually know the names of a lot of the places that we went to. I wasn't really on my phone, I wasn't looking things up, and I wasn't really concerned about where we were because I was just along for the ride. So, the first night, we stayed in a not as touristy neighborhood, and I can't remember what it was called. But we found our hotel, and then we went out, and we went to that bookstore I told you about where I got that book, and we went and got some tea at a coffee shop, and got dinner, and there was like a food truck park, and we hung out there for a while, and there were a lot of little annoying things that happened that first day that felt like we weren't off to a great start. Like we got, the hotel was a self-check-in situation, and my fiance didn't end up getting any check-in info in his email, and we didn't realize that until we were there, and then a maid let us in, which was really nice, but it was just a lot of little things like that. But it was still fun. And our whole trip was 5 nights, and 3 of the nights we spent on the island of Vieques, so that was the bulk of our trip. And to get to Vieques, you have to either take a small airplane or a ferry, and we chose to fly. And the airplane that we took was the tiniest, well, it actually wasn't the tiniest airplane I've ever been on, but it was really small. It only fit 4 passengers and 2 pilots. And my seat, I was actually facing backwards, and the pilot was right behind me. And there was no air conditioning, so it got really warm in there. And I am a nervous flyer, so I was very nervous about this, but once we got up in the air, it was actually really cool. It was beautiful views of the island and the ocean, and I think being able to see out the front windows and see all around actually helped me. I felt more comfortable in the plane than I normally do. And it was probably a 30-minute flight. And then we landed in Vieques, and we went and picked up our rental car, and then we made our way to our Airbnb. And the first thing I noticed all over the island was there are horses everywhere. And a lot of the horses are owned by people, but they don't have the land to graze them, so they just set them loose, and they wander around the island, and there are horses everywhere. And a lot of them are looking a little shabby. There's also dogs everywhere, and cats everywhere, and chickens and roosters everywhere. So that was a big change. Then we noticed that in the neighborhood we first stayed in. It's an urban neighborhood, but there was chickens and cats everywhere. And we found our Airbnb, was really beautiful. It was a little cottage on top of a mountain, literally perched on top of a mountain on stilts. And it was all one room and a bathroom, but it had everything we needed, and it was clean, and it was cute. It was very relaxing. And it had incredible views, like 360-degree views of the mountains and off in the distance the ocean. And in the mornings when we would wake up, we would see rainbows over the ocean. And at night there was really good stargazing up there, so that was beautiful. And I forget what town, the name of the town was that we were just outside of. There was a little downtown area with shops. And then we went to beaches. That was the main thing that my fiance wanted to do. So we went to, I couldn't tell you the names again of every place that we went to, but our first full day on Via Case, we took our rental car and we drove down this winding, very bumpy dirt road, and there were all these little pull-off spots that were beach access. So we picked one of those spots and we walked down this little short path through the woods, and you came out and you're in a cove, a big cove with rocky outcroppings out in the distance, and then white sand and turquoise water. And we set up our beach chairs there, and we hung out there all day. And it was 80s and sunny, and it felt lovely. And we did some swimming, and at one point there was a little stretch of beach that you had to wade around a rocky outcropping to get to. So you had to wade through the water, and that's when we were wading through the seagrass and rocks. And then we sat under a nice shady tree on that beach for a bit. And there was all this like fossilized coral that people had built towers out of. And we had the whole beach mostly to ourselves, so that was really cool. And what else did we do? One night on Via Case, we took a kayak tour of a bioluminescent bay. This was my favorite thing that we did on the whole trip. So we show up for the tour, and it's this beat up old school bus is the tour bus. And actually I'm gonna finish the row of red. Everything was, nobody had headlamps. He didn't turn the lights on in the bus, so everything is dark. And it was a short drive to get to the road that leads to the bio bay. And the road was so bumpy. He said, "Hold on everybody, this part is called the roller coaster," and he was not kidding. At a couple points the school bus was almost on its side, like it was really tilted because the road was so bad, and that drive was so fun. I had a blast. It was so fun. So you get to the parking lot, and he says, "Okay, everybody take off your shoes and put them in this basket," so we do. And then you have to walk through mud, thick, dark, sulfury smelling mud to get to the lake shore where you're gonna get in your kayak. In some spots the mud was a couple feet was up past your ankles, up your calf a little ways. And who knows what was in that mud. If there were critters around, no, you wouldn't know because there was no light. And we had to stand in the mud for a while because we were waiting for other tour groups to get out. But once you make it through the mud, you're in a little shallow lake, and then they help you get into your kayak. And we had clear bottom kayaks, so you could see everything. And we started paddling out on the water, and pretty soon, once we got away from the shore, it was incredible. It was like any time that you disturbed the water, if you paddled, if you splashed, as your kayak moved through it, the water would glow, and it was like a bluish, whitish glow, kind of like glow stick liquid. It was like something out of the movie Moana. It was incredible. And because it was a clear bottom kayak, you could see all the little, so the things that are glowing, they're, I think, a type of plankton. And as they hit against the bottom of the boat, they light up. So the faster your boat is going, the more things you're hitting, and the more it lights up. And it literally looked like you were paddling through like a galaxy of stars. And then the lake was dark, so you could see lots of stars up above. So that was incredible. And it was warm. It was so warm. The water and the air, but it was breezy, so it wasn't hot. And we didn't have to worry about bugs. And that was amazing. And then we got ice cream afterwards. And we spent a little bit of time in the town of Esperanza, and they had a little tiny museum there that was very cute that the employees gave us basically a private tour of, because it was only us and two other people there. And that was cool. They had a couple of aquariums with different sea creatures in them, like a starfish and a sea cucumber. And then they had the beautiful boardwalk in Esperanza, and we had really good food. And we went to another beautiful beach with the big palm trees, like I told you about. I think it was called Sun Bay Beach. And then we did a lot of driving around on the coast, and we went right at golden hour and got to see the beautiful sunset. And we saw an old abandoned lighthouse, which was up on the cliffs, and that was really cool. It was I think they said it was one of the last. It was built when they were under Spanish control. And it obviously would have been beautiful when it was operational. It's a very fancy building in ruins now. And right next door, there was this little path leading off through the bushes. And if you followed it, it took you down to this cove. And it looked exactly like, if you picture a pirate's cove, that's what this looked like. It was like all the cliffs and the crashing waves, and it turned out it literally was called Pirate's Cove. And so yeah, we had a lot of beach time and exploring time. And we cooked a lot in our Airbnb and also had really good food. And then after 3 nights, we flew back, and we saw a little bit of Old San Juan. We only had about one afternoon spend in Old San Juan. And I would love to go back someday. It felt very European. It reminded me of Spain. And it was really beautiful and really clean. And we saw the old fort that's there and learned a bit about the history. And then we went into some shops and we got good drinks and good dinner. And then it was time to leave. It was really nice to have a little taste of summer in January. It was 80s and sunny the whole time that we were there. And it was breezy the whole time that we were there. And it was wonderful. It was very relaxing. Oh, and okay, I also gotta tell you about this tree that we saw. It was a 400 plus year old ceiba tree, and it was gigantic. It reminded me of the Tree of Life at Disney World. Its roots were so big. That was really cool to see. And when you talked, your voice would echo off of the tree because the roots were so big. Trying to think if there's any other highlights. I think I told you most of them already. It was a really nice getaway, and I would love to go back. If I were to go back, I would want to see more of Old San Juan, and I would want to see more of the big island of Puerto Rico. That's where El Yunque rainforest is. I want to see that. And then I read in a magazine while we were there about agritourism on the Big Island, and they have some farms where they grow cacao and coffee, and they'll give you tours, and I thought that would be really cool. So it was a really lovely trip. I would definitely recommend Puerto Rico, especially if you like beaches. And it was a great time of year to go. I have to get going now, but I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it brought some calm to your day, and I'll see you in my next one.